guys, I debated long and hard whether I really wanted to share this video from my personal files because it gives away some information, but I decided ultimately I wanted more important than the information in here is to get to know the old-timers. And I wanted to share my great friend with you, June Bleich, who's one of the most knowledgeable people when it came to the gold in the Uinta Mountains and the Spanish treasures. So with that said, do me a favor, hit the like button. I don't know if it helps me with YouTube or not, but it sure makes me feel good. And with that said, here's my friend June Bleich. June, I miss our adventures. Okay, today is August 6, 2020. June Bleich. Okay, Tawana Flats.
Alright. I was taking Wobin out to Roosevelt, and then we was going to go up to Rock Creek, and on the way up, going up, he said to me, "Do you know where Tawanta's cabin was?" And I said, "No, not exactly, but I know that he had a cabin up there." He said, "That's exactly right." He said, "Tawanta had a job for the tribe, and he was to watch certain areas on the right-hand side of Rock Creek, or on the west side, you could say. And if he's seen anybody close in there, then he would jump on his horse, and away he'd go down to get him out of there." He said, "So, you know where his cabin is then?" And I said, "No, I don't." I said, "I was told that his cabin was moved, and it had been moved to a different place by somebody in the tribe that wanted that cabin. So the tribe gave it to him, and they moved the cabin on down." He said, "But there was a lot of things that was left." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Fence posts." He said, "Every time that Tawanta went over on the west side of Rock Creek, he would go to one or two of these places and get gold nuggets. And he would bring them back. But he didn't know what to do with them once he got them back. So he would go to a fence post and loosen it up and dig it up, and then he would dump them gold nuggets under the fence post and put it back in and tap it down." And he said he had a lot of fence posts in there. He said, "So if you go there, I don't think you'd be seen. And I don't think there's anybody in the tribe that knows about this." But he said those fence posts, all of them had gold nuggets.
Really?
Gold nuggets. Yep. He said he had to watch that place for years and years. He said, "So you know what I mean?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "Well, get your buzz box," that's what he called it. "You get your buzz box and go up there and go around them fence posts, and when they buzz, you dig that fence post up and get the gold nuggets, and then put it back, fence post back in." He said, "But put a little dot of white paint at the top, just a spray can, just a little dot, and he said you'll know that you got the gold that was under used to talk at night, and I would close my eyes and act like I was asleep, but I was just listening. And I learned many things thinking I was asleep, so they just talked freely.
Yeah.
And he said they talked about the mine on Indian land, where it was located. And they sometimes get a piece of paper and draw X's, different things like that. Whatever happened to them papers, I have no idea. And he doesn't either. He said they was probably burned. But he said one time they told me about those 91 boxes of gold bars that was buried on the east side where the road comes down, and it used to zigzag before it got down to the river. You know where that is? And I said, yeah, it's not there now. And he said, that's right. They took a cat in and made it straight and then paved it. And he said, that's where the sagebrush is, as tall as a man. He said, you know where that is? And I said, yeah, I've seen that sagebrush. Well, he said, that's where a lot of boxes were that wasn't part of the 91 boxes, but they're there. And he said, as you come down off of the top, he said, just have to keep your eye peeled for this tall sagebrush. And he said, then go over I mean? By the tall sagebrush, as tall as a man. And I said, I sure do. He said, okay. Anyway, he said, as you're coming down off of the top, and they had that big circle in the road, he said there was a drainage that come from the side, and they've got a big culvert in there, and it drains the water from there on the other side to get it out of there. And I took my 3D metal detector, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5 or 6 guys at that time that I thought I trusted. But anyway, we went up, and we all went across this place where there was a road that went across there to get you into that little area. And he said, go across there, and he said, on that side, he said, there is a little old pine tree back there all by itself. And he said the Indians dug a hole at the base of that pine tree, and they buried gold in there from that massacre. How much is there, I don't know, but they put a lot in there and buried it at the base of that pine tree. Little old pine tree all by itself. I said, okay, I've got that. Got it in my mind, never forgot it. I don't think I forgot it. Anyway, he said, go up there and go across, take the detectors there. And he said, go around that tree and it'll buzz. He said, and there's gold bars there. Most of it, he said, I think is gold bar. Dick showed me and pointed. He said, that tree right there. Well, I can't point it to you because it's never been pointed out to me.
Yeah.
But one of these times, he said, when we're up here, we'll go up there and I'll point that tree out. I said, okay. That never happened, but I got good information, so I didn't forget it. A strange thing happened. We all went across an open barrier, open place, where he said, you go up where that railroad thing is. And he said, you'll know where the place is because you'll see that railroad thing. And of course I couldn't, I couldn't figure out what he meant by that. And I said, Wobin, that railroad thing is confusing me. And he said, well, it's a guard, so when the train's coming, they put this thing in to keep people from going across the track and getting killed. That's one of them there. Well, I know what they are. They're the shiny things that the states put in them. And so when I went up with these guys, we all had metal detectors. And I had my 3D made in Oregon. And I had bought 4 of them. draining water out, as well as one that was low. And there was only one culvert, and it was 14 feet down. I measured it with a fiberglass tape. And that thing was picking up that culvert.
Really?
14 feet deep.
Wow.
Well, there was a prospector named Gibran. You surely heard of him. Gibran.
The guy who was doing the movie?
Well, if his name was Gibran.
Yeah.
Anyway, he said, "Have you got a good metal detector?" And I said, "Yeah." And I gave him the one that didn't go 14 feet deep. And he went out and started messing around with them, and he said, "I want that one." And I said, "Well, that's my own personal 3D, Gibran." He said, "Well, that's the one I want. You know, I can take that thing and turn it on," and I had a 20-foot camp trailer. Take our family up in it. Everything was nice. Well, I can turn that on, Terry, and this is the God's truth. I turn it on, I take that thing up in the air and point it at that trailer and walk towards it. And I'd get about 14 feet from it, and it would buzz like crazy.
Really?
Yeah, free air.
Wow.
That thing was tuned so,
Wow.
you know, I shouldn't have sold it to him. But he wanted it. I gave it to him for, I think it was $300 and some, which I thought was a good deal.
Yeah.
I think we paid $125 for it, maybe it was just $100, because we bought 4 of them in bulk. So I worked and I worked and I worked to try to get that detector tuned in where it would pick something up that deep.
Yeah.
Had no luck. Never had an ounce of luck. I could pick something up 3 or 4 feet deep.
Yeah.
But no long range. No free air. I'd have to get almost on it with free air.
Huh.
But that amazed me. Well, 3D started to go broke. And White Company, which was a good company, bought 3D
Wow.
and all of that technology.
Yeah.
Well, now they're under.
Yep.
I don't know how long ago.
Just recently, within the last month or so.
Do you think there's anything in there that the guy can buy from them? They still have it.
Well, I just bought one of their 2-box detectors just because I know that they're not going to be making them anymore, and I wanted one, so I just bought one. It hasn't come yet.
Half the pay?
No, it's supposed to show up today or tomorrow, I think.
How much?
$700. So you're talking about Wobin. Who was Wobin?
Who was Wobin?
Yeah.
He was an Indian. Wobin was the son of Wontons. one day I asked Wobin, I said, Wobin, what was your dad's name? He said, you got me there. I don't think I ever heard it.
Really?
Yeah. He said, everybody just called him Wontons.
Huh.
And when you called him, he came. That was good enough for everybody, he said. But I never heard what my dad's name was. He just went by Wontons. And I go by Wobin Wontons because he was my dad.
Yeah.
But he said my dad hated me.
He hated him?
Yeah. And I said, why would he hate you? You're his son and he loved you. No, he didn't love me. He hated me. And I said, why did your dad hate you? He said, well, when I was born, he said it killed my mother.
Oh.
And she must have hemorrhaged or something.
Yeah.
But she bled to death. Nothing anybody could do. Kept throwing clothes on her to rags, trying to stop the blood flow, blah, blah, blah. But she died, and Wobin said, once, as my father said, you are a bad spirit. That's why I don't get around you. You're a bad spirit. And he said, one day something might happen to where you're a good spirit. And he said, now I know that you're a good spirit. And I said, well, how do you know that? He said, because of that giant aura that you have around your body. It's everywhere. Your head, your toes, your nose, everything. He says, I have never seen a man that has an aura like you have around your body. He said, it is glowing and fantastic. And he said, I asked you a question once, why the Indians talk to you? He said, that's why they talk to you. A lot of those Indians can see that aura like I can. He said, but you have a big aura even around your feet.
Huh?
And he said, nobody is entitled to have a full body aura like that unless they are a good spirit. Good spirit from the other world.
Yeah.
He said, you were like that. That's why they talk to you. You little Indians.
You had a lot of them talking to you, didn't you?
Yeah. A lot of them. Still do. Never had the trouble talking to me where they didn't. I asked them a question, they just told me.
So his dad just kind of disowned him. That's why he lived with.
Well, they all lived in one cabin.
Oh, they all lived in one
Yeah.
cabin.
His father, Wansis, lived in one corner, and Dick lived in another corner, and his wife was, I can't think of her name.
Sadie.
Sadie, yeah. Dick and Sadie lived in another corner, and Wobin's, I got Long's father, and I lived in another corner. But he said, we never got any rest. He said when Dick wanted to punch old Sadie, he would just take me, get her in there, and away they'd go. And he said they really had a ruckus going when they was having sex. He didn't say sex,
Yeah.
it was something else. But he said they really went at it, and we couldn't sleep. So we just listened to it. And he said, and then Chief on Rhodes would get going. He said he'd be in that corner and he'd start chanting Indian chants. Hey, I know that God on your Mahawari. Incidentally, that is one of their chants. I memorized it. Anyway, if you were to be around an Indian and they was a ways from you, you chanted that out, they'd come right over and shake your hand.
Oh yeah?
Yep, and they'd do that. Well, so that was Dick and Sadie, and then there was me, and then there was Wanzas, and then there was Chief on Rhodes. So there was 5 people living in one room, one square room in that cabin. So you can see why we never got any sleep. But most of it was Chief on Rhodes. When he started chanting, we just listened. We knew what it was about.
How'd you meet up with Wobin?
I heard of an old Indian that knew a lot. The story was this Indian knew a lot about these mines. And I'll tell you that story from the beginning if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear it.
I do want to hear it.
You do.
I do.
You gonna hit me?
No, I won't hit you.
Okay. Well, when Wobin got of age, somewhere around 7 or 8 years old, we sent him to a school back east. I think it was, he told me it was in Virginia. He said, we sent Wobin to that school. And he learned everything about the white man way of living. He said he didn't know a thing about Indians and how they lived. He said, I stayed in that parochial school, I think that's what he called it, until I was 18 years old.
What age was he when they sent him?
He was about 7 or 8. They just got rid of him because Wanzas didn't want him around. He was a bad spirit. But Dick took to him and he would put his arm around him and hold him so he knew that Dick loved him. And that was his uncle, of course. Well, anyway, he went to this school back east, and when they got all done, he graduated with straight A's, you know. And he said he learned to play the piano, and he could play Tchaikovsky Mozart, and all of those things. I've got one of his music boxes, about that thick.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and it's nothing but classical music. And when he got back, I mean, he could play just like those guys that get on TV.
Really?
Yeah. Well, there was a man that was, what do they call them guys? Go out and check for the government on their land and all of that.
The Indian agent?
Well, whatever it was a powerful guy. And he didn't know Wobin played that piano. But he went over to this guy's house, the Indian agent. They was friends. And I think it was like Henderson or something. I got it written down. Anyway, he asked the guy, the Indian agent, if he could play the piano. He said, "Can you play the piano?" And he says, "Yeah, I can play a little bit." And he said, "Well, where did you learn to play the piano? The Indians don't have pianos." So he kind of told him the story about being cast aside by the tribe and, everything that went with it. So he sat down, started playing. I don't know what it was, but it was one of those fantastic songs. He played that thing, and he said the Indian agent was just absolutely flabbergasted that the Indian could play like a white man. Really a good toned-in white man. I didn't even check, but we got the lock on.
Yeah.
And lock it. Look at that fire thing there.
Yep.
I didn't know that. If you go on that mountain that way, you go to a town called Daniels. And that's a town that Aaron Daniels, there by, was told by Brigham Young to take that town, develop it, bring people in. So that's what he did. While he was doing that, he said he prospected all up and down these mountains.
Yeah.
And he said, that's how I found those mines there in Three Forks. He said there's 2 good Spanish mines up there.
Huh.
And he said, I'll show you when we go up the road. So one time we was driving again toward Duchesne or somewhere. And he says, go slow. His eyesight was pretty bad because he had cataracts. Well, we got up to where one canyon was. He said, stop. He said, it's either that canyon or this one. But he says, it's the last fork on Three Forks. Okay, I said. He said, Well, there's two lines up there, and one is above the other, and they're shafts that go down. He said, there's really not much of a dump. He said they're old mines. He said they was good. I don't have any trouble picking it up. You know, it's a lot of
Yeah.
moved on them because they're good, strong, rich mines. And they're up on top. If you come in from Walsburg, take that road up, and can't remember the name. It's kind of a neat name. Well, anyway, I sent Curtis up there, and he didn't have any trouble finding it. Went right through, and there was not much of a dump at all.
Huh.
But the trees were kind of marked, and they were, you know, awakening us.
Yeah.
They didn't have anything to really mark. He said, but I'll bet you was on top and you started really looking, you would find some trees with marks on them. I said, okay. He said, we'll do that. You got two good mines there. He said, and then on the left-hand side, there is either two or three mines. I can't remember what he said, but it was either two or three mines on the other side. And he said, must be a big vein that comes through there and goes under the road and up that draw. And the same vein is on both sides, which makes sense.
Yeah.
A faulted area. Well, Curtis went up and found them. I got pictures that he sent me. They're not too good. I'll get them out and show them to you. Or you can go up there. I think the easiest way to go is to go to Walsburg, and you take that road up and it'll take you right on top.
Uh-huh.
Well, if you go right towards the canyon, or he marks this here, big canyon. Big canyon. Well, if you look at a map, even a Forest Service map, you'll see the place where they got it marked, a cabin. It had to be the Spanish cabin, because it's not too far from the draw that goes down, and not very far to those two shafts.
Huh.
And there's water there too. Spring. So they've got a cabin, a place to stay, and spring water. And that gold bar was found right in here.
Well, there was a gold bar found right here?
There's a lot of them.
Really?
Yeah, I've told you that.
I don't remember that. You probably have.
Anyway, you're a good friend of mine, so I'll keep telling you whatever you need to know until you remember. Anyway, they're not too steep, not too hard to get to. These are some of the steepest places to get up. It's incredible. But he told told me that he prospected this canyon back and forth. He said, and the Indians got to know me. So they didn't bother. A lot of them would tell me things. Well, anyway, that's where those two Spanish mines are in Freeport. Those guys got their lights on. Should we get them? Well, up here in Center Creek, there used to be a rock just off the side of the road before you turned in. It had a map on it. I don't know if you've ever seen that map.
I remember seeing pictures of a rock it's down in somebody's yard down in Heber now. I don't know if that's the same rock you're talking about.
Well, I don't know. It's a big rock. I don't know how they could move it. They could with the backhoe.
Yeah, it was a big rock. Had some straight lines on it.
Yeah, going this way.
Yeah.
Straight line. Who's got it?
I'm not sure who has it. Somebody in town in Heber.
Did you see it down there?
I've never personally seen it, but I've seen the pictures of it.
They're not too descriptive. Not too descriptive. You'd have to really study it and know a lot about ancient Indian writings and stuff. But this is Center Canyon here.
So it was up there somewhere, huh?
Little road going back right up there. Anyway, yeah, that rock is not there now. I went up and tried to find it. I couldn't find it. I thought maybe the state come and blasted it and get it, out of there so they could have a nice road going in.
So anyways, you was telling me that Wobin played the piano for the Indian agent.
Yep. He was just absolutely flabbergasted, the Indian agent, that Wobin could play the I don't know what the name of the song he was playing. He told me one time. But I looked it up on the computer and it was right up here.
Wow.
With all of the great
Yeah.
players. Great. I looked at his hands. He had pretty long fingers, very nimble for his age.
Huh.
Well, anyway, this Indian agent would have Wobin come by and play the piano for him every week or so, which I think was neat. Back up there, you can see two notes. There, see the top two.
Yeah.
I got a map that shows those two mountain tops, and it shows a trail coming out, and it says 15-mile trail. It comes down all the way down until it connects down here at Strawberry.
Huh.
He said, that's where that line is. It shows an arrow going down between those two.
Oh.
He said, I think that it's a shaft, but I don't know. He said the Indian, or the trees that were cut, that are gone now, he said they had beautiful Spanish trees Service went in and cut them down.
Hmm.
I was talking to a Forest Service agent about that. And I said, if I could have caught them cutting them, I would have hit busted their knees with baseball bats. I said, that's not right. And I said, I would teach him a good lesson. And his eyes got about that big around because he was the one watching the area
Uh-huh.
before the bird force was set.
Yeah.
And I knew it. I swore. Luckily, Aaron Daniels drew the trees how they marked them.
Oh.
And you've seen them. I bet you've seen the mark on that map. Like
Yeah.
that. They're beautiful. And they're easy to figure out if you just look at the map and study it.
Easy for you.
They are easy. And I'll take and sit down with you and show you how you read them.
Okay.
But you gotta remind me.
Okay. Good.
Like Wobins, when they bring him out, keep your eye out, look up there, and you'll see those two mountains.
Uh-huh.
He said, that's where those trees are, and that arrow that goes down in between them. He said, you can't miss them. And we found them pretty easy. The trees that were all cut, you see them.
I don't know if I did.